People who fell in love with their therapist. What happened? My junior year of college, some drunk driver plowed into me while I was crossing the street, and when I woke up in the hospital 3 days later, I was unable to feel anything below my waist. The doctors said I was lucky to be alive, but all I could think about was how I'd never walk again. They assigned me to this therapist named Kendall for my rehabilitation. She was maybe 5 years older than me, with these brown eyes that crinkled when she smiled and hands that were always warm. The first session, I couldn't even look at her. Here I was, this 20-year-old guy who couldn't control basic functions anymore, and she had to help me with exercises that made me feel like a baby learning to move. I spent that whole first month angry and embarrassed. Every time she helped me transfer from my wheelchair or adjust my legs during stretches, I wanted to disappear. But Kendall never made it weird. She'd talk about random stuff while we worked, like her terrible cooking attempts or how her cat knocked over her coffee that morning. She made me laugh when I thought I'd forgotten how. After 3 months, something shifted. I started looking forward to our sessions, not just because I was getting stronger, but because talking to Kendall was the best part of my week. She actually listened when I talked about missing basketball or being scared about dating again. She never gave me that pity look everyone else did. She just treated me like a normal person who happened to be dealing with some heavy stuff. By month 6, I knew I was in trouble. I'd catch myself staring at her while she explained exercises. I memorized the way she tucked her hair behind her ear when she was concentrating. I started wearing cologne to our sessions like an idiot. When she mentioned going on a bad date, I felt this surge of jealousy that knocked the wind out of me. The feelings kept getting stronger. I'd lie awake at night replaying our conversations. I started writing her letters I'd never send. I even looked up her favorite band and listened to all their albums just to have something to talk about. It was pathetic, but I couldn't stop myself. After a year of this torture, I finally cracked. We were doing our usual end-of-session chat, and she asked if I was okay because I seemed distracted lately. The words just tumbled out. I told her I'd fallen in love with her, that I knew it was inappropriate, but I couldn't keep pretending, that she was the only person who made me feel like myself again after the accident. Kendall got really quiet. She set down her clipboard and looked at me with this sad smile. That's actually really common, she said gently. It happens all the time. When someone listens to you and helps you through trauma, your brain can confuse gratitude with romantic feelings, especially for men who aren't used to emotional vulnerability. These feelings will pass. I felt like she'd punched me in the stomach. She was so clinical about it, like my feelings were just some textbook case. I nodded and pretended to understand, but inside I was screaming. How could she reduce what I felt to some psychological phenomenon? This wasn't transference or whatever. I genuinely loved her. I tried to let the feelings pass like she said. I went on dates with girls from my classes. I threw myself into my studies. I even joined a wheelchair basketball league to meet new people. But another whole year went by and nothing changed. Every session with Kendall was torture. Pretending I didn't love her while she helped me stretch was killing me slowly. Finally, I made the hardest decision of my life. I told Kendall I needed to switch therapists. She tried to ask why, but I just said I needed a change. What killed me was when she explained that company policy meant once you stop seeing a therapist, you can't request them again. It was final. No going back. Walking away from her that last day destroyed me. I started drinking alone in my apartment. First just beer during basketball games, then whiskey to help me sleep, then vodka in my morning orange juice because why not? Within 2 months, I was drunk more than I was sober. My roommate finally staged an intervention after I passed out in the shower. I knew I had a problem, so I found an AA meeting near campus. I wheeled into that church basement feeling like the world's biggest failure, a crippled alcoholic who fell in love with his therapist. Real winner. I was getting coffee before the meeting started when I heard a familiar voice behind me. Lance? I turned around, and there was Kendall holding her own styrofoam cup. She looked tired, but still beautiful. We just stared at each other for a moment before she smiled that smile that killed me. We sat together during the meeting, not saying anything. Afterwards, she asked if I wanted to talk. Over terrible church coffee, she told me the truth. She'd had feelings too, real ones, but there was no way she could admit that or act on them while I was her patient. It would have been unethical and could have cost her license. She'd been trapped watching me struggle knowing she felt the same way. We started going to meetings together after that, just as friends at first, but now we're actually building something real.